Well, I was born in Detroit, Michigan, but I was raised in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, which is about 20 miles from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I had a wonderful childhood, made a lot of friends. Growing up, me and my friends would, ride bikes, go to the swimming pool, go play basketball. So I had the absolute best childhood that a kid could have. Shout out to everybody in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. That's my hometown. And also, Cleveland, Ohio is my hometown as well. I was partially raised in Cleveland, Ohio. So shout out going to everybody in Cleveland, Ohio as well.
Okay, so you're a LeBron fan, huh? Maybe.
Of course, LeBron was great. I had the chance to see him play in high school.
Okay,
It was amazing
nice.
to watch him play in high school. He was very, very poised as a high school basketball player. It was almost like he could play in the NBA when he was in about the 11th grade. That's how poised LeBron was. It was absolutely wonderful to see him play in high school. So yes, I am a LeBron fan.
Okay, all right. All right, well, let's talk about your faith in God. A lot of people don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Let's talk about faith.
Well, I always felt that the most important thing in life is to give your life to Jesus Christ.
That's true.
And develop a good relationship with Him. Because believe it or not, you will need God in your life at one point or the other. So, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. I try to live the best way that I can. I got a few scriptures that I love, just for an example, Psalms 46, God is my refuge and my strength, a very present help in the time of trouble. Psalms 27, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So, those are a few of my favorite scriptures that, I try to live by.
Was that something like that you grew up in it, or was it something you just caught on to after you grown, or did your elders kind of instill it in you?
That's a great question. One thing about me, I can always say my mother raised me in church.
Okay.
And if she never gave me anything, her raising me in church was the greatest gift that she could ever give to me.
Amen.
And I got brothers and sisters, and she raised all her children in church. And I think with me, it just stuck the closest to me.
Okay.
But I was kind of raised in church, and so it just stuck with me.
Okay.
Over a period of time, and I want to thank my mother and all the elders and
right.
All the people who played a key role in my spiritual development. So I guess I can say I was
kind of raised in it.
Kind of raised in it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So it's part of your foundation.
Pretty much. It's my solid foundation, man.
Gotcha.
And like I said, I couldn't thank my mother enough for raising me and my brothers and sisters in church. So
okay, so let's jump to education. So what do you think about education and the power of education?
Education is probably the best thing that a person could do for themselves. Learning how to read, learning how to write, learning how to spell, learning how to do English. Learning mathematics is very important, especially for kids.
Right.
Because when you're younger, I just think that your mind is a little more open
It's a sponge.
to learning.
Yeah.
I agree, like a sponge. You soak things up
Yeah.
when you're younger. When you get a little older, you get set in your ways and want to do things your way. But when you're young, you can shape and develop a young person's mind. So, I tell all the kids, do the best you can in school.
Right.
And don't be afraid to ask your teachers questions. Because there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Right.
The only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
True.
And, my grandmother always taught me, no matter what you do, always try. Continue to try. So, education is the key, for our kids and for adults, because you never get too old to learn. You can always learn something new. So I'm big on education. I went to school. I was well educated. I'm thankful for the education that I, was able to accumulate. And education is always right. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care how expensive it may be. We got a lot of people who got student loan debt. They went off to law school and didn't have the money, so they had to take out student loans.
Right.
Okay, but life will be more expensive if you don't get the education. So go ahead and get the education, take out the student loans if you have to, and learn how to apply your education in a real life situation.
Okay. All right.
Great question, though. That was a great question.
All right. Let's jump over to sports. I know we spoke on LeBron a little bit earlier, but let's elaborate a little bit more on other sports and the whole genre of sports, I guess.
Well, my favorite sport is boxing.
Okay.
I grew up, watching boxing. I boxed a little myself. I was able to compete in Golden Gloves.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Out of Cleveland, Ohio. So it was a great experience for me. Just an amateur, nothing major.
Right.
I made it to the regional semifinals,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a wonderful experience.
Right.
My favorite athlete, as you can see here, I got a Muhammad Ali picture.
Yeah.
Okay, and Muhammad Ali was just my favorite athlete because he taught us style. He taught us courage. He stood up for what he believed in. He taught us how to be fearless. He spoke his mind. He didn't hold back, and he did it sometimes with a humor, a great sense of humor.
Right.
You know, he always said something funny, or he always said something to make you laugh. And you know, I always tell people if he was alive in our time today, he would have probably been a hip hop artist.
Right,
You know,
right.
because he knew how to rhyme, he knew how to, you know, offer a great quote. He knew how to put his words together. You know, so Ali would have been a hip hop artist
You're right.
if you know his time was now.
Yeah.
So Ali's, you know, my favorite all time athlete. And then of course we got people like Michael Jordan. You know, I'm a big fan.
Right.
Big fan of Michael Jordan. I'm a big fan of Magic Johnson.
Okay.
You know, Magic taught us courage too.
Right.
You know, for what he had to deal with. You know, he stood up against his disease, and
Right.
you know, he didn't back down, and you know, he's beating his disease. So, you know, Magic is one of my favorite athletes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but these athletes today make a lot of money, man.
A lot of money.
When you got guys signing, you know, $100 million contract to play basketball.
Right.
And I'm not hating, but my goodness. You know, all you're doing is playing basketball.
Right.
And you making, you know, $30 and $40 million a year.
Right.
You know, so we got a lot of athletes, you know, making a lot of money nowadays. So, but we all love sports. You know, I was raised up in sports. You know, always been a player. You know, always been a fan. So, you know, I love sports.
What do you think about politics coming into sports these days? With, you know, with I guess the athletes are kind of learning they got a voice now. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel that athletes are exercising their right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And nothing is wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
You know, if you don't want to stand up for the national anthem, you know, that's your right. You know, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
You know, personally.
Right.
You know, if you paying me $5 million a year, and you know, you paying me $10 million a year, and you know, all I got to do is stand up for the national anthem, you know, then you know that's what I'll be doing. You know, I wouldn't be protesting. You know, somebody who's paying me $10 million a year, but you know, if that's what they want to do, you know, you have that right to do it. So, but you know, government is always gonna find a way to, you know, regulate and, you know, come out with new laws and, you know, get new bills going, and, you know, we just got to deal with government. You know, they always gonna be here, right? So you try the best you can to deal with government. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And while we're talking about money, we might as well go into finances. Since we're on the money subject.
What part of finances?
I would say more like investing. What would you say? What would you you know, say about investing your money or buying things? You know, like we talked about earlier. You're talking about how were you saying it earlier? You buy things, you know, that'll bring you back something.
Right.
Yeah, elaborate on that.
Well, not always, but now, you know, at this stage in my life, I try to buy things that only will bring me back a profit, or I try to buy things that will only bring me back a return in some, you know, form or fashion.
Right.
In the past, I used to buy silly things that really didn't bring me back no profit or return.
Right.
But now I try to invest. You know, I went out and bought a little bit of stock in Walmart, so I'm learning.
Right.
You know, how to invest. I'm not all the way there yet. I got a long way to go, but you know,
just another part of educating yourself.
Yeah, you know, you wanna invest in Walmart. You know, I think Walmart is the #1 corporation.
Oh yeah.
In America right now. So, you know, if you have a son or a daughter, you know, it would be nice to buy them 1,000 shares, $1,000 worth of Walmart stock, and just let it sit.
Exactly.
You know, let it sit until they 20, 25 years old, and
know how to handle it.
You know, they should have a nice nest egg when they, you know, turn 30, 35, or 40, or whatever the case may be. But you got to get going with investing. Right. You know, so that's what I try to do.
I got you. Get yourself ready for the future. Investing, I guess. That's
right. You know, nothing is wrong with buying a nice car or, a nice motorcycle, but you know, I rather, you know, buy a used car.
Exactly. Right.
And save a little money and invest that little
Right,
money.
right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, cars are actually bad investments.
Yeah, they're as soon as you drive that thing off the lot,
Can't
you
get the
losing money.
spent. Right. You lost
You know?
money already.
and then you know what we do. I'm talking about black folks.
Oh, we gonna put rims on
We go out and
tear
put
them up.
these, you know, high dollar price rims on the car, and
and
we put all these stereo amplifiers on the inside, and
worth more than the car.
you know, we rolling nice, don't get me wrong, but you making a bad investment, bruh.
Bad investment.
You know, so I'm done with all of that.
Yeah.
I'm done with all of that. I got to invest now. So
You got to invest. Okay. All right, let's jump over to social media, which is pretty much the world right now. If you don't have social media, you pretty much kind of lost, really, I guess. Out of touch with a lot of stuff. So, how do you feel about social media? The pros and cons.
yeah. Let me put on my sunglasses. You know, this light, you know, shining in my eyes, giving me kind of a headache. You know, and sometimes, man, if you wear, so I'll get to your question in a second. If you put on your sunglasses when a light is shining, or if sunlight is shining, it reduces the chance for headache. So always keep a pair of sunglasses on deck. You know, so, you know, it helps you, you know, with headaches and, you know, things like that, you know.
Right.
And then it's fashionable. But going back to your question, social media is everywhere now. You know, so many people got Facebook pages, so many people on Twitter, so many people on Instagram, so many people on Snapchat. And that's just the way the world turned. Okay? And so when I was coming up, you know, I'm talking about, you know, my teenage days. If you seen a nice girl you liked, you had to have a lot of courage to go up to her and ask her for a phone number, or, you know, ask her if you could take her to the movies, or, you know, ask her if she's going to the party. But now it's a whole different game now. You know, all you got to do is get her Facebook page, you know, hit her inbox,
Right.
you know, tell her what you want to tell her, and y'all can start a little, you know, courting thing, you know, through social media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything is on the internet nowadays, and it's good and bad.
Right.
You know, so it's what you want to use it for.
True.
You know,
that's right. Exactly.
It's a lot of benefits. I know it put a lot of people together.
Right.
For example, I ran into several people on Facebook that I haven't seen in, you know, 20, 25 years.
Right. In school, like
you
grade
know,
school.
right.
Yeah,
You know, and we was able to reconnect,
Mm-hmm.
you know, through my Facebook account.
Right.
Okay. But at the same time, it destroyed a lot of people's relationships. You know, a lot of people get on there and they do things that they shouldn't,
Right.
you know, do. They post things that they shouldn't post, and,
Right.
you know, it caused a lot of damage. So you got to be careful
Right.
with social media. You know, I said things that I shouldn't have said. You know, I had a beef with, you know, this person or that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I got right on my Facebook wall and I fired off, and I shouldn't have said that, and
Right.
I felt the repercussions, and
Right.
you know, it was just a bad, ugly situation.
Yeah.
You know, when you get your feelings, you know, you shouldn't go and post things on your Facebook page when you're
Right.
talking about somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an ugly situation.
Right.
You know, so I'm guilty of that. You know, I apologize.
We all are.
You know, we all are. I
Yeah.
apologize to, you know, people.
Mm-hmm.
And you just be careful with social media.
Right.
You know.
And now they have it where social media is where a lot of people getting charges. You know. The law
Yeah, that's crazy,
using
man.
social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you break up with your girlfriend, or, you know, you break up with your wife, and you get on Facebook and you put all these threats out.
Yeah, that's coming up.
And man, the law, yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You right, that's crazy,
Yeah,
man.
That's crazy, man. You gotta be careful.
You really got to be careful, man.
Yeah.
You know, not to get caught up in your feelings,
Right.
or not put your feelings on social
Exactly,
media. So.
yeah.
But we all guilty of that, like you said.
Because it is a stage. You know, it gives you a stage to speak on, and a lot of people just take it for granted, I believe. don't know how to use it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's my take on it.
All right. All right. Let's jump into kids and parenting.
Mm.
That's a large
Yeah, that's
one.
you know, when I was coming up, we had about 30 channels if you had cable,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. But now, my cable plan, I got over 300 channels. Okay, and my son, when he watching TV, I really gotta monitor
Mm-hmm.
what he's watching
Right.
because he got over 300 channels that he can choose from. So I just don't let my son watch anything,
Mm-hmm.
on cable. That has a lot to do with my beliefs and things like that.
Right.
But man, when you step out for a minute and he watching TV in his room, and man, you thinking, man, my son could be watching any old thing on TV. So it makes the job of being a parent very, very hard.
Very hard. Yeah.
And then you got all these laws now
Right.
to protect children. You can barely lay a finger on them.
Right.
These kids now tell you, I call 911 on you.
And they'll call them and the police or arrest the parents.
But if I would have told my mother that,
Right.
oh
Right.
man, or if I would have told my stepfather that, or if I would have told my father that,
Right. You got your fingers cut off.
man, mom almost killed me a couple times anyway. You know what I'm saying? So excuse me,
Oh, it's all good. It's alive. It's alive and good.
my mother almost killed me a couple times. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't all these laws back then.
Right.
It wasn't none of that where you can't, where you get charged for child abuse and all that crazy stuff.
Right.
Excuse me for 1 second, okay?
So you got Arizona in there?
Yeah, it's one in there.
I see. Oh, yeah.
You see, that's another thing. These cell phones. Somebody calling me. I'm trying to do an interview. I done had time to answer it. I don't want to be rude. To the interview. So, I just decided to go ahead and send that person a text
Right.
and saying, yeah, I'll be there at 4:00. You know what I mean? But let's get back to this interview.
All right, yeah. What we on? We on kids and parenting.
Oh yeah, I was saying. All these laws, man, really protect kids. And I understand you had a lot of parents, abusing their children.
Right.
You can't have that either.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be hitting no child with no razor strap and
Right.
hitting them with a belt buckle and
Right.
locking them in the bedroom. You can't do all of that. I understand.
Right.
But the scriptures say, spare the rod, spoil the child. And so if you tap your son on the butt a few times, that ain't gonna hurt the child, and that's not abuse.
There's not abuse.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But
It's a thin line.
yeah, it is. I think the law went a little bit too far, and I think sometimes parents went a little bit too far. So
Right.
you got to find the middle point.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Oh, excuse me. She just sent me a text. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. All right.
All right, let's jump to the music scene. Let's jump to the music scene. All right, let me ask you, what's your favorite genre of music?
Oh man.
Well, I know it can't be one, but I mean, what's, I guess, your favorite couple or few genres?
Well, one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say my favorite. I said one of my favorites is reggae. And I got a Bob Marley record here, and this is his Legend album. You know, filled with all of his greatest hits. You know, I like reggae because, you know, reggae is on an offbeat, and it's giving you a different style of drums, a different style of bass guitar, a different style of lead guitar. And Bob Marley did it so fine. You know, he was a great writer. You know, he wrote real good. And, you know, when we heard I Shot the Sheriff, he really made you feel like he shot the sheriff.
Yeah.
You know, that was his lyrics. That was his writing skills.
Right.
You know, but then he said, but I didn't shoot the deputy. So, it was a great song. Reggae blessed us in so many different ways. And I'm thankful that, you know, I was able to hear, you know, what Bob Marley did. You know, it was a wonderful genre of music. You know, Bob Marley came from dirt poverty.
Right.
You know, he worked his way up. He kept trying.
Yep.
And, you know, the rest, as they say, is history.
Right.
That's just one of my favorites. Old school hip hop is another favorite genre. You know, and back then it was real clean.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you had a beef with somebody, you know, for example, just a quick example, LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee had a beef.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it was a clean beef. It was just on record.
Right. On wax.
You know, on wax, as that on vinyl.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, it was more so like a competition. Sort of, kinda. You
like
know,
the dancing was.
yeah,
it was just work.
right. Because dancing was very intricate as it relates to hip hop.
Right.
You know, so old school hip hop is another favorite genre. Of course, R&B.
Right.
You know, I'm a big Mary J. Blige fan. I'm a big R. Kelly fan.
All of us probably born into R&B.
You know, blues. Blues was great.
Yeah.
You know, blues guitar was probably my favorite sounding instrument.
Okay.
You know, I love blues guitar. Gospel is great. You know, gospel is centered around feeling.
Right.
You know, you and your feelings. So you put on a nice gospel record. Gospel is great. So it's many different genres that I love, but those are just a few.
Okay. What you think about? Guess we can talk about the music business too, because it's more than music these days, really. Because it's like, well, the saying has always been, it's like 10% talent, 90% business.
Right.
In the music. So, what do you think about like how the new artists are coming up? You know, they're getting endorsement deals. You know, just a whole lot more than what the old artists used to. You know, kind of like the athletes.
Okay.
They're more educated in the music biz. How you feel about that? As far as like the newer generation coming up.
Well, the big thing about the business side of music is you want to take control of your publishing.
Right.
Okay, and so many artists are uneducated about what publishing is.
Back to education. Right.
Okay, and they think it's just about music. You know, the beats.
Right.
Or the samples. You know, that's the music side of it. Or how the drum pattern is going.
Right.
That's very important.
Right.
Okay, or what the melody in the song may be. That's very important. But the publishing, okay, is a deal for the lyrics.
Right.
Okay, you can get paid for the publishing. You can get paid for the beats or for the music.
Right, the production. Yeah.
The production. Okay, but if you get an offer on the table, you want to go after your publishing.
Right.
You want to own the rights to your publishing. Right. And that's how, you know, Jay-Z, just to throw a name out, that's how Jay-Z became so rich.
Yeah.
Because he took control of his publishing.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you want to take care of your publishing before you do anything if you're offered a deal from the majors. You know, when I say the majors, I'm talking about the major record labels.
Right.
But me, somebody like me, I prefer going the independent route.
Right,
So,
and see, and that's what a lot of people are doing. They kind of more educate on it, learn that they don't need the big labels behind.
you don't. You don't.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you can be rich in your own right. You know what I'm saying? Learn it independently. Put it like that. You know what I mean?
Because years ago you needed the majors for one big thing, and that was distribution.
To get it out. And then we got
if you had a hit record, the major labels got you distribution.
Right.
Which means put your record in all the record stores across the whole country.
Right.
And even overseas sometimes, if your record, got that big.
Right.
But, with all this technology, you rarely see any record stores now.
Right. It's all streaming now.
It's all streaming. You can, what is it, iTunes? You can go to iTunes or, I got a plan on my phone, through my provider. I got over 2 million songs all on my phone. So what I need to go to a record store for to buy a record or a CD.
Yep.
That's how much, it changed.
Right.
So, but during, for example, Michael Jackson's Thriller album time frame, you really had to go to a record store to buy this album.
Exactly. It was a hard copy.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't I'm gonna download it.
Right.
It wasn't, I'm gonna stream it, or it wasn't, I'm just gonna go to iTunes and listen to my favorite song on the record. You really had to go to a record store to buy the album.
Right. That's real.
But it's not like that no more.
Like that.
So a lot of artists have cut out
the middleman.
The middleman, or as I say, the major record companies, because you really don't need their distribution no more.
You don't, yep. So. Because it's people making $1 million on YouTube or Facebook Live videos now.
Right. What's that kid? I think he's from Chicago, Chance the Rapper.
Yes.
I think he went the independent route. Didn't he go the independent route or something like that? And he became a millionaire or something like that.
By not he didn't sell his music. He streamed it all free, so he was just getting $1 million off streaming. All his music was free though.
Right.
Yeah, everything was free, but you playing it over and over, that's generating revenue for him, and he ended up being a millionaire. So it's a lot of ways to get money now in that music biz.
So that's the route that I would take. I just do it as a hobby.
Right.
But if I was really serious about it, that's the route I would take.
So what do you do as your hobby? Like what genres do you mostly play around with?
Well, I just play a little keyboard. I think we cut a little video a few minutes earlier before we started this interview. I play around with guitars a little bit. I do a little production. I got a little studio.
DJ.
I DJ. The big thing now is DJ.
DJs, man.
Years ago, if you was a DJ, you had to have all these crates of records and you had to carry them. It took a lot of labor to carry them records.
You have a crew with you.
But now all you need is a laptop, an external hard drive, and a good set of speakers and some headphones, and you can have 30,000 songs on your hard drive. You can hook your hard drive up to your laptop, and you can get to work as a DJ.
Right.
So DJing is real big right now. And that's where hip hop really started.
Right. Exactly.
It didn't start from the lyricist.
Exactly.
It didn't start from the producer. Right. It didn't start from the dancer. DJing started. Hip hop started with the DJ.
Right. He was hosting the party.
I'm going back to people like pioneers, Grandmaster Flash. The real DJs.
Exactly.
So that's where hip hop really started with.
That's true.
So
yeah,
and it's going back to that now.
Right. Exactly.
So
and it is.
But I just mess around as a hobby with DJing and playing a few instruments.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump to relationships in marriage.
Oh, well, any way you look at it, relationships can be hard.
Yes.
Any way you look at it, a marriage requires a lot of work. And, it's sort of like a lot of people go into it with blindfolds on. You know how they say love is blind,
Right.
and you get married to a person and you find out that that person ain't who they was.
Right.
It's this big mess, and you got family members and in-laws
So
getting in
much
the middle of
time into
everything,
it,
and
yeah.
man, you know, it's crazy
Right.
because it requires a lot of work.
Right. From both ends. From both sides.
It does.
Yeah.
But if you could, at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
if you can find that special, you know, lady,
Right.
you know, and you fall in love, and you know she is in love with you, go ahead and get married.
Right.
You know, it's best. Just my opinion.
Right.
It's best to go ahead
Right.
and get married.
And
You know, because a good wife
Mhm.
is your helper.
Yeah. Right. Your
You know,
partner. That's
she's your
partner.
partner.
Yeah.
She's your spouse.
Right.
You know, she's the one that'll care for you, that'll love you,
Mm-hmm.
that'll be there. So, if you can find that special someone, I'm big on marriage. Go ahead and get married.
Right.
So, in my past, I had a few, you know, broken relationships. Can't do nothing about it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
she fell out of love. You know, I fell out of love with her, and it was
Right,
one of them things. And you know, I just had to pull myself up by the bootstraps and cut my losses, and you know,
Right.
keep it moving. Ain't no need to cry over spoiled milk. You know, you get up, and you know, you try it again, right?
Right.
So but relationships, you know, is very, very demanding.
Right.
You know, because you can't be in a relationship and be selfish.
True.
You know, being in a relationship is about giving.
Right.
You know, so that's just my views. But I recommend anybody, if you can get into a relationship, go ahead and do that, and you know, go ahead and get married, because these streets will eat you up.
They will eat you.
You know, there ain't nothing cool about, you know, having, you know, 15
Right.
different sex partners that you sleeping with.
Right.
You know,
right.
when you could be married and, you know, always have your wife at home.
Exactly.
You know, that's what it's about, man.
Exactly.
In my eyesight. So I recommend, you know, marriage. And you don't have to be rich to be married.
No.
You don't have to be rich. I understand, you know, money plays a big part,
Mm-hmm.
and money, you know, really helps.
Yeah.
But
That's like the number one divorce thing.
it is.
Money,
It is,
yeah.
man. You know,
Finances.
people
It's
want to
crazy.
argue about money like they got some. But you
Right.
ain't got no money anyway. So what you arguing about? So what difference, you know, does it matter anyway?
Right.
And then, you know, our background, I'm talking about an African
Right. Yeah. Right.
American, you know, background.
Come from.
Yeah,
poverty.
we come from poverty.
Exactly.
So you arguing, you know, with your husband or your wife about money, and you never had none anyway.
Right.
I mean, you arguing about $100, $200. What?
Yeah.
Like that's some money.
Like that's some money, right?
I don't know, man. It's crazy.
You can only pay a bill with $100.
Right. So, but still, you know, you don't have to be rich
Right.
to get married.
And it's not about
You
that.
know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's just how I see things.
All right. Let's jump to the government.
What aspect of the government?
Let me see. Let's see, government. That's a good question. No, didn't the government just shut down
Yeah. I think
yesterday? Day before yesterday?
what is it? Congress having problems with each other. You know, the
it's
Democrats and the
right, yeah,
Republicans can't see eye to eye.
Yeah, so they shut the government down. I don't know.
It's a lot of.
There's a lot of regulations and you know.
But they need to work on the economy,
Right.
because the U.S. deficit is trillions and trillions of dollars.
And rising.
You know, so they need to, you know, come up with some type of plan, some type of strategy where they could, you know, go ahead and try to get the deficit down.
Right.
Some type of way. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we could start, you know, paying people more than minimum wage.
Right.
You know, because
some free education over here.
right,
Like
if
that,
or
you know.
free health care.
Right. I think we're the only country that charge for like education and
And health
I know
care.
Canada's free health care, education. You know, I think America's the only one that does that, where it's so expensive to go to school, and
Right.
go to the doctor.
Right. And
That's-
it's kind of hard for them to offer free health care or free education when, we already have a, $1 trillion deficit.
Exactly.
That's hard, right?
Yep.
So they gotta,
Yep.
kind of come up with some type of strategy where they can get the deficit down so you can take care of the citizens a lot better.
Right. That's true. That's true.
So that's just my take.
So what you think about our new president?
I didn't vote for him, so
Right.
he's a good businessman.
Right.
Don't get me wrong now.
He
In business, he's wonderful in business.
Right.
He's worth what, a couple $1 billion or something like that. But like I said, I didn't vote for him.
Right.
So I voted for his counterpart,
Right.
and I'm happy I voted for that person. So, that's how I feel about it. All I can say is I didn't vote for him.
Right.
I'm not gonna get myself in trouble.
We just gotta roll with it, right?
Yeah,
now.
I'm not gonna get myself in trouble and say anything, because I respect everybody.
Right, you got to. You gotta respect the position.
I don't.
Even if it's not the person, you gotta respect the position.
I don't have to support that person.
Right.
I don't have to agree with that person, but I still respect.
Right.
My
Respect
fellow
his
man.
position.
I respect, and that's everybody. I treat everybody like that,
Exactly.
not just people in power.
Right.
Whether you are, whether you on the streets, you living on the streets, and you doing down. I mean, you doing bad and you down and out. I still treat that person, with respect.
Right.
That's just who I am. That's just how I've been raised.
Right. That's your raising. Yes. Right.
But I didn't vote for him.
All right. We're gonna jump to the last thing: fashion.
Fashion.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot on fashion earlier with you talked about Ali, how he brought the fashion into the sports.
He did. Ali was
he was suave, huh?
He was a very, very, very good dresser.
Yeah, he was.
And wearing nice clothes is important, and that's not being materialistic. But it's just nice when you got on a nice pair of jeans, or you got on a nice shirt, or some of the ladies wear a nice mini skirt or a nice dress,
Right.
or a nice pair of shoes. Fashion is always been important.
Right.
And if you can go out and buy you some designer clothes, do that, because it says a lot about your character.
Right.
When you have on a nice designer pair of jeans, or a nice designer shirt, or a nice pair of shoes, because the way we dress is a reflection of who we are.
Right, that's true.
And you wanna keep yourself looking as nice as you can, because you never get a chance to make a first impression. And when people see you, they look at what you got on, what you wearing, what you smell like.
Right.
Is your teeth clean?
Yep.
Fashion is so important.
It's your appearance. How you
It's your appearance,
yeah.
and that translate over into hip hop.
Right. Yeah. True.
Believe it or not, because we got a lot of people in hip hop who started their own clothing line.
Right. And that's how a lot of designer companies advertise their products through.
That's true.
Through these artists.
That's true. Some of these artists got they got their own cologne out, and
right. Yeah.
I think who is it? Beyonce got her own perfume out. That has a lot to do with fashion.
Exactly. Yep.
Shoes, and Nelly got an endorsement with Nike for Air Force Ones, and that got a lot to do with fashion, man.
Yeah.
So the way you dress, says a lot about who you are. So
right.
Fashion is very important. You can see I always got a pair of sunglasses. Either on, or in my car, or somewhere in my house. I used to sell sunglasses. Because it puts you in that mind frame of I'm cool today.
Right.
That has a lot to do with fashion.
Yeah.
So
cool. What else you want to elaborate on?
well, that's about it. I think I done covered quite a few topics.
But tell them more about tell people something they don't know about you.
Well,
Throw one thing out there that your fans or whoever watching might want to know.
one thing about me, I always try to take care of my body.
Okay.
You know, I'm always at the gym. You know, I'm always lifting weights, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm doing something athletic like swimming or something like that. And,
Right.
you know, I'm getting older now. My metabolism is slowing down, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to maintain that.
You gotta take care of your temple.
You know, I'm trying to maintain that. You know, same shape.
Yeah.
I'm not in shape like I used to be, but I'm a little bit older now. So, one thing about me, I try to take care of my body. You know, taking care of your teeth is important.
Right.
You know, don't put anything in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people, I'm not being disrespectful. A lot of people could put contacts in their eyes. You shouldn't do that. You know, go ahead and get you a pair of glasses instead of, you know, putting something
Right.
in your eye. Don't put anything in your ears. You know, a lot of people clean their ears out with Q-tips. You shouldn't do that.
Mm.
And if you watch TV, don't watch TV in a total darkness.
Right.
You know, have some type of little light,
Yeah, it's bad for your eyes. Yeah.
because that's bad for your eyes, man. You know, so I'm trying to take care of my body. That's one thing I wanted to share with you. But it was a nice interview. I thank you for this interview. I wish you much success, and I want to say thank you. Get on now. 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 Yeah.